Mehnaz Jaffer, and I'm the head of the Undergraduate Services at the Red Pen. I'm really happy to be here and in conversation with Rhiaan, who has just been admitted to Northeastern, which was by far his only dream college, right?
Yeah.
Rhiaan?
Yeah.
So, Rhiaan, I would really like to hear about your experience with the Red Pen.
So I joined a little before COVID, and ever since I was a part of the Red Pen, I was like pretty much guided down a path which kind of built my application and my extracurricular activities in a way which complemented what I had been doing way before. For example, I used to play cricket since a very, very young age, and when I was with Devanshi in the mentorship program, she helped me sign up she told me to coach younger kids from an underprivileged background, and that would kind of help my profile as well as expand my opportunities in the social service sector. And then with that same organization, I later on worked with my school, which kind of helped me a lot because it was part of my GP project, and that was much easier for me because that was during COVID.
Right.
And I already had a rapport with that organization, so that made it a lot easier because I knew the children we were working with, and it was easier for them because it was it was during a pandemic. So yeah, so basically the Red Pen's been like guiding me throughout my high school time, and it was just the perfect progress because they started off as just like guiding me and mentoring me. And then when after the 11th grade, when it became a little more real, the college application process, when it became the scary college application process, that's when the Red Pen really stepped up and like helped me overcome all the nightmares I was having, and kind of guided me through the essays, the supplementary essays, choosing the right colleges, because I was the most paranoid kid in my grade. Like I started, like I wasn't this paranoid until I was made this paranoid because I was not working at all when I was supposed to sign with Namrata. But later on, when she told me how real it's gonna get, I got really scared, and that's a good scare, not a bad scare. So yeah, it was really helpful because if I wasn't with the Red Pen, I don't think I would have made such an application which complemented everything I had done in the past. And I think it was the steps that I was guided to take is why my application turned out the way it did.
Yeah. Actually, you were one of our students who actually signed up with us a lot earlier. I think you were in the 9th grade, so you were our mentorship student. So you actually worked with us very, very closely for the last 3 or 4 years, right, Rhiaan?
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that you joined when you did, because obviously the pandemic kind of took a toll on everyone, and by then you honestly had a game plan in place. Because more often than not, the students who actually signed up during the pandemic were at a loose end because they really didn't know how to build on their activities, how to take everything virtual. So I'm glad to hear that already you had a plan of action, right? And I'm hoping that our consultants worked really closely with you to kind of take all your activities to a virtual kind of platform.
Yeah.
Did that work well?
Yeah, that actually worked really well because a lot of the stuff I did before the pandemic was extremely hands-on physical. Like I used to do cricket, I used to go out a lot. Like a lot of the stuff I did was like internships. Everything was very non-COVID friendly in a certain manner.
Yeah.
And I think the consultants really helped me convert that into the online sector. And yeah, I think that was really
I think as a company, we've always been very, very comfortable because even before COVID, we were working virtually with all our students. The feedback that we give on our essays, everything is on a platform. So it's pretty easy for students to kind of access that information and get the feedback that they need, right, in a timely manner. So I think as a company, I don't think we really struggle, but I'm glad to hear that we kind of managed to make a transition for the students that was as seamless as could have been.
Yeah.
So that's really great feedback for us. I think another thing that I would really like you to kind of share a little bit, of your own insights on, and I know you spoke to me a little bit about that, was how our consultant really helped you through the essay writing process.
Oh, that was a task because I'm not a good writer. I am one of the worst writers I have seen. So I had an idea of like from a while before of how I wanted my common application essay to kind of go down that path, and I wasn't able to put them in the right words per
Right.
se, and I had put out a first draft which kind of came back with a feedback on every word because it was just not.
Was that intimidating for you to see all those?
No, I actually prefer that
Yeah.
because I'd rather have so much feedback to work on than have no feedback to work on or really minimalistic feedback to work on, because I would rather, like, because that feedback helped me change the entire essay but still have my original idea in there and keep my voice, which is what I really wanted. Like, one of my greatest fears was working with an organization which would help me and me losing my own voice in my application, but that didn't happen even once. All that feedback that I got, the unlimited feedback, was the most beneficial thing because it kind of molded my essay in a way in which my voice came out the best way it could.
Yeah. And that's something again that we truly believe in at the Red Pen. It is your voice, it is you talking about your unique characteristics, your own story. And so many times we have students and parents come back to us and say that, the language needs to be a little elevated or a little bit flowery. And that's not really what a, college essay is all about. It's all about, how the student wants to portray themselves, how you naturally write. And that's really the essence of how we want to portray our students in the application. So I'm glad that process was beneficial for you.
Yeah.
Another thing that I remember in your application process was your consultant kind of being very invested, and maybe I think that maybe you can confirm that for me. And when you applied to Northeastern, it was always like let's reach out, let's do let's speak to the admissions. Did you feel like we were as invested in the process as you were?
Yeah, definitely. Like I think it's because of how invested you all were in me is why I felt the need to do more, because like I felt like a good push from the back, like go do this, do that, like this is required in a certain way. And I feel like because the Red Band was as invested in me, is like, again, that's kind of what kind of helped me that okay, they care, and like whatever they're gonna tell me, it's gonna be good for me, and if I don't listen, I'm gonna be the only person who's gonna be at a disadvantage. Because my parents are paying whatever they're paying, and if I don't take the feedback y'all give me, it's just gonna be me who's at the loss. So, and the feedback that y'all gave and like the advice y'all gave, it was beneficial throughout, for not just for my Northeastern application, but for all the other applications I had taken on.
And I'm so glad that you made the most of your opportunities, right? Your parents signed you up, but throughout every single year, there was a continuous progress, so to speak, right? In your application, and making sure that all the relevant boxes of the application were getting checked in a very smooth and systematic manner. Your timelines, I think, were kind of managed. I know there were little hiccups here and there, but towards the end, you did pick up the pieces and work really, really closely with your consultant to make sure that your application was on point. Another thing that I would love to hear from you, Rhiaan, was were there any obstacles along the way?
With the Red Pen, or like in general?
In the application process? Were there any sort of hiccups, any hurdles?
I think one of the only hurdles I faced was that I was not as invested in it in the beginning as I should have been, because it was my application and it was for me, it was for my future. And I think because I wasn't as focused in what I needed to do rather than time passing around, I think that's what kind of put me at a disadvantage in the beginning. But I feel like other consultants really helped me overcome that hurdle.
Okay. So, in essence, you feel that the Red Pen consultants kind of helped you get back on track? Yeah. Anything else you feel that the Red Pen did that helped you in the process?
Everything, pretty much. Like, when it came to the essays, when it came to the extracurricular activity, because the extracurricular activity page, I think, is the most underrated when it came to difficulties, because you need to put...
In the common application, the 10 activities.
Yeah. So you need to firstly narrow it down to 10 activities out of whatever you've done the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And then you need to put that in like under 200 characters or something. 150 150 characters, which is like 20-25 words.
How do you sum up everything that you've done, right, in those many characters?
Exactly. And I think that was really difficult for me, and that's one of the places where I felt like the Red Pens really helped.
Yeah.
Like, it helped in looking good, because like putting 10 activities, it just looked shabby when I did it, and when I was like, when the advice given by the consultant was implemented, it just looked like neat and tidy.
So, Rhiaan, in the application process, you're working really closely with your consultant. But behind the scenes, there are so many of us at the Red Pen actually reviewing your application, your essays. Did you feel that during that process, it was evident to you that there were many other people involved in this process?
Yeah, definitely. Because I remember the first time I was given feedback by my consultant, like, okay, whatever, I made the changes, and then it went back. And the next time I got feedback, I could see advice given from 3 to 4 different people, and I was like, okay, so there are enough people reading my essays. So I just wanted to make sure it was understandable, because like me talking to my consultant on a weekly basis, she kind of knows me
the best.
And yeah, she knows my personality, but the admissions officer sitting on the other side of the laptop reading my application does not know who I am, does not know anything about me except for what I put through to the from the Common App essay. So whatever like the other people in the Red Pen are reading, they don't know me personally. So whatever feedback they're giving me, it's from a third person perspective, and that advice I feel like I felt would benefit me more, because that's what the admission officer would feel when they would read my application. So I feel like every layer of feedback that was given from how many other people read my application really benefited me.
I think you kind of nailed it there, because that is the idea behind us reviewing it, and we don't know you as closely as your consultant, but while we're reading that application and through those essays, through your activities, we really need to know what you're passionate about. What are the strengths you have, what are your values that you're going to bring onto the campus community, what are some of the things that students at that particular college are going to learn from you, right? So all that has to come through in your application. So I'm glad that you felt that there were others reviewing your application. Another thing that I would really love to know from you is how do you feel you grew through this process, in the application as a person?
Yeah, I think that's why I had the most growth, because like my consultant herself said that I started off like the most lethargic guy she had ever come across, and that's true.
You took that feedback.
Yeah, I'm not denying it. I'm not ashamed of it, because of her advice and her push, I really pulled up my socks, and I got to work like in such a manner that every week I had to check one thing off the checklist and get it done. And after a point, it happened so well because of the backing that I had from the consultant, that I was done with my application a month in advance from when it was supposed to be due, which was again a 15-day advance from the actual deadline. So whatever advice I had gotten and however early I had finished my application process, it was just helpful, because that 1 month that we had extra was just perfect for fine-tuning every last detail of my application.
And Rhiaan, you're at one of the most selective schools here in Bombay, Dhirubhai Ambani. And I know that all their deadlines are much earlier than all the other schools, and I think it's a great accomplishment that you managed to get everything done way before their deadline as well. So kudos to you on working so hard with your consultant. I think another thing that I would love to kind of get a perspective from you on is, I know your mom was very involved in the process, and I know she was actually also quite nervous and anxious. Did you feel as consultants of the Red Pen, we kind of managed the dynamics between you and your mom, managed to keep the calm and peace as well? Because that's an important part, right?
Yeah, because so every small debate that we had on the colleges that I had chosen, the moderator was the consultant. We
were the peacemakers,
exactly.
I think. Yeah.
So every argument I put forth and every counter argument she came back to me, my mother, was all presented then to the consultant, who told us what's the right, what's the wrong, what makes sense for my profile, what would be the best fit for me. So I think after a point when my mom realized that the consultant is the perfectionist at the job and like is the perfect person for me, she got a little calmed down. She got like, I think what was the biggest understanding for her was how this college application process does happen, because I'm the only child and she's never done this before.
It can be a very intimidating process.
So I feel like the consultant really did a very good job in calming her down more than me, because she was more paranoid on this process than I ever was.
And tell me, why Northeastern?
I love Boston. I've never been there. I've heard a lot about it.
The co-op
The
opportunities.
co-op
Yeah.
opportunities, yes. So that was one of the deciding factors that my consultant had put forth in front of my family, like the co-op opportunities after the 4 years I done in the undergraduate program. The opportunity is extremely high, and like living in Boston for me, like I'm a guy who loves kayaking, loves water sports, and it's got a brilliant summer. It's a few hours away from Vermont, which is the best place for me to go skiing. I love adventure sports, and I just feel like I just felt like Boston was a good area to do it, and Northeastern had the perfect fit of a program for me.
Do you feel that the red pen had any role to play in you kind of picking your major, because you eventually have decided to do chemical engineering, right?
Yeah.
Or is that something that you kind of knew from the get-go?
So I mean, I started off thinking I'd be going into the engineering sector, but I had my own ups and downs. Being a teenager, I had like 100 different options. Like
Like anyone does,
yeah,
right?
so
And it's difficult at, when you're like
Exactly.
14 to know what you want to do.
So yeah, in the middle, I wanted to do economics. I wanted to do aeronautical engineering. I wanted to do automotive engineering. I was exploring every possible opportunity I had. But at the end of the day, the red pen also told me that my profile was molded in a way that it would best fit chemical engineering, and I had no issue with that if that was the best way for me to get into college, because I have a passion for chemistry from a very young age, and
Right.
I just felt like chemical engineering would be the best fit for me.
Super. Last but not the least, most important part of our conversation is you giving our next cohort of students your advice on the application process.
So I would say it doesn't matter where you start, it matters where you end up. However, lazy you are in the beginning. Laziness, I think, is one of the biggest factors in like teenagers like us nowadays. Like you're gonna be lazy, like 99% of the kids are gonna be lazy regardless of what they do. Like Netflix is always gonna be a burden, but you need to you need to know when it's the time to start working, and it's better late than never. So I'd say, however late it is, if you feel like it's become too late, trust me, it's not late, because I started pulling up my socks like 3-4 months before my application was supposed to go out, and it turned out beautifully. I got into my dream college, and I'd say if I can do it, anyone can do it, because trust me, I was the laziest guy. I slept for 12 hours, and the rest 12 hours I was either eating or watching Netflix. So I know that's not the best advice to go down with, but I'd say just listen to your counselor, because they have the best advice. Do what they say, because that guidance is, because their experience. It's your first time doing it, but it's their 10th, 15th, 20th time doing it. So I'd say whatever advice they have is like the end. Just go with that with your eyes shut, and it'll be the best thing you can ever do.
Thank you so much for all the confidence you have in our capabilities. And students, just a word of advice. I know when you come to your 12th grade, your senior year, it's definitely going to be very, very difficult to kind of do the balancing act. There's a lot on your plate. We all realize that. So try to get everything done way in advance so that you're not kind of struggling towards the end, and you have that perfect application that you want to put out and send out to your dream colleges. And with that, it's me, Mehnaz Jaffer, signing off.